There have been 9 bishops in the long history of the Diocese of Springfield. The first was Bishop Patrick Thomas O'Reilly, who was installed in 1870 and served nearly 22 years. Bishop O'Reilly was of Irish descent, and this fall 2 of the bishop's relatives traveled from the Emerald Isle to Springfield to see where their great-great-uncle once lived and worshiped. Steve KILTONIC sat down with the O'Reilly brothers at the Rectory of St. Michael's Cathedral to learn more about their family connection.
He was born Patrick Thomas O'Reilly to Philip O'Reilly and Mary Conity on December 24, 1833 in County Cavan, Ireland, an area known for its priests. Patrick emigrated to the United States as a teen to escape poverty during the Irish pre-famine years. Fran Gagnon is a local historian who has written extensively on the history of the Springfield Diocese.
He did have an uncle, John Comerford, who had come to Boston well before that and had met with some success financially. He sent for his nephew Patrick when Patrick was just a little boy.
Patrick's secondary education included St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland, St. Charles College in Maryland, and St. Mary's Seminary in Baltimore, still a premier seminary for priests. In 1857, O'Reilly was ordained a priest in Boston, serving at St. Joseph's before being assigned to St. John's in Worcester, where he was pastor for 6 years. At St. John's, he quickly built a name and reputation for himself. When the newly created Springfield Diocese, which included Worcester, was established in 1870, Father O'Reilly was designated its first bishop by Pope Pius IX.
He was the youngest bishop named at that point, and maybe since. He was 37 years old. He was very tall, very handsome. He was an intellectual, he was personable. They said he had very kind gray eyes that would twinkle with humor as well. He loved people. He was wonderful. He was a man designed to help things grow and prosper and thrive. And that's what he did. People loved him, including people who were not Catholic.
Bishop O'Reilly could often be seen walking the streets near the bishop's residence next to St. Michael's Cathedral. By all accounts, Bishop O'Reilly had boundless energy and a large capacity for work. He even dabbled in politics, running for the Springfield School Committee because of his concern for the welfare of children. Ultimately, he lost, in large measure, because of his religion.
That was a great loss for the city of Springfield, but it was a great gain because he turned all his energy into the creation of new parishes with parochial schools.
The early decades of the Springfield Diocese were a time of tremendous growth. In the 21 and a half years of O'Reilly's pontificate, 41 churches were dedicated and 28 schools established, many staffed by the Sisters of St. Joseph.
There were hospitals, orphanages. There were new orders of nuns who were welcomed into this new diocese. Some of them set up homes for girls and boys. There was a lot of charity work being done for the people who needed it most. And he encouraged all of that. So it was a lot of bricks and mortar, but also a lot of human development. And he did it all. And he did it all with great cheer and joy.
All told, Bishop O'Reilly confirmed 77,000, ordained over 150 priests, and laid nearly 100 cornerstones of churches, chapels, and schools. Bishop O'Reilly died on May 28, 1892, from Bright's disease, a kidney affliction.
He had vision. He had vision beyond himself. Today, he'd be called a Renaissance man.
On September 21st, the diocese welcomed from Ireland Eugene and Michael O'Reilly, the great-great-grandnephews of Bishop O'Reilly. It was the first time the brothers visited Springfield. They came to learn more about their famous relative and see where he actually lived, worked, and worshipped. At the bishop's residence, they met with the staff, as well as Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky and Bishop Emeritus Timothy McDonnell. Here, they walked the halls where Bishop O'Reilly's portrait and other pictures were on display. They were also shown some original documents of the bishop, which included a personal journal in which he wrote in his own handwriting of his daily life as spiritual leader of the diocese.
Quite remarkable, the comparison in terms of the calligraphy skills of Bishop Patrick and our grandmother. Very
similar, right?
yes.
Yes, very similar.
After they read through Bishop O'Reilly's journal and correspondence, they discovered other family traits.
It looks like he took his bishopry very seriously and was a hard-working man, which also ran in our family. Going back to my dad, he was also a very hard-working man. So that's the kind of a link that would strike me as being a continuum through the ancestry. Yeah.
The brothers also got a tour of St. Michael's Cathedral, where Springfield's first bishop celebrated Mass. In the vestibule of the cathedral, they were shown the life-sized white marble bust of Bishop O'Reilly, which had another family tie.
It's probably the closest thing of how he looked in the flesh. It has been placed there thanks to his nephew, Dr. Philip Kilroy.
Dr. Kilroy became a well-known and respected neurologist and psychiatrist. He once lived in this house on Chestnut Street, just around the corner from St. Michael's Cathedral. His mother was Catherine O'Reilly Kilroy, who was Bishop O'Reilly's only sister.
She left Ireland in 1880 with the two boys. One of them was Philip, the other was Patrick, named after the uncle. But the brother and the sister, in their old age, were very close. They were together, and it was just a wonderful family story.
At St. Michael's Chapel, Michael and Eugene attended a Mass celebrated by Bishop Rosansky. They were also taken to the cathedral crypt, where Bishop O'Reilly was laid to rest, along with Bishops Bevan and O'Leary.
A very, very moving experience to see the area where he's interred and to be able to say a quiet prayer. It was just wonderful. Yeah.
You feel the same way?
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience. To actually go down to the crypt and see where Bishop Patrick's remains lay and just say a simple prayer there was really, really very moving for me. Yeah.
Later, the brothers had lunch with Bishop Rosansky in St. Michael's Rectory, where Bishop O'Reilly once lived. Here they walked the rooms which served as the bishop's chapel and library, which houses hundreds of books dating back to the diocese's early days. They also touched the crozier, which would have accompanied him to the many dedications, celebrations, and important events of the church.
I find it humbling that he was so inspiring in his leadership role, but almost in the same ilk now as Pope Francis, that he went out and worked with the poor and worked to better the lives of people. And that's a wonderful feeling to be related to such a great man.
The O'Reilly brothers stayed a few more days before returning to Ireland, but they left with a much better understanding of who their great-great-granduncle was and of the tremendous impact he had on the foundation of the Springfield Diocese.
Our initial intention was simply to pay our respects to our great-great-granduncle. It has become something so much more, a loving, warm experience. I didn't really feel connected other than knowing of the bishop, but now that I very, very much feel connected to, and it would be certainly my intention to return and hopefully to unearth some more information about Bishop Patrick.
In one of the historical diocesan books, it is written of Bishop Patrick Thomas O'Reilly, "The old folks who remember him speak of his quiet but convincing eloquence, his constant affability and kindness, his abiding trust in God that to every cloud gave a silver lining." For Real to Real, I'm Steve KILTONIC.
The O'Reilly brothers said that during their time in the States, they also had a chance to visit the Mother House in Connecticut, where their father's aunt, Sister Frances Xavier, who was a sister of St. Joseph, once lived. The brothers fondly recalled the books and clothes they received from her in Ireland, which were sent as gifts to help their parents. What a great story.